Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Cardinal Scoreboard Show. My name is Trey Graham. I'm joined as always by Melissa Cardinals head football coach Matt Nally. And coach, we're supposed to be here talking about a game on Friday, but instead we get to play meteorologist. It was a long night, a frustrating night. The Frisco Raccoons were here right down there, Coach Kenny Deal Stadium, for game number 2 of the year. And unfortunately, game wasn't played.
Correct.
Multiple lightning delays. So I want to help the audience understand the logistics, the mechanics of all this. So let's start with a couple questions. You and I talked pregame at like 6:15 or something. The weather was fine. It was perfect. We were down on the field. Nothing was going on. So what did you anticipate early on? What did you think the night was going to be?
So, well, I'm just going to go to my house about 5:30 Friday morning. In the bathroom, my wife is listening to the news, and she's like, "Matt, it's going to be some rain tonight. Looks like it's going to be some thunderstorms." And I'm like, don't put that on us, because we do we have a weather report on Sunday that we watch and we prep
5 days ahead.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And we prep each day. So, like, we do a weather report on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and we do it on Sunday, understanding where we might potentially have to practice and things like that. And, we it sounds crazy, but, like, are we going to, how are we going to get the football because of the sunset and things like that, yada, yada. So we do our weather report on Sunday, and about that time, Friday was like 40% chance of rain. So we do, we have wet weather plans that we already have installed, and we do wet weather drills, we do wet ball drills and things like that throughout the week to prepare for raining. So 40% chance, and then I looked at, it was like, man, maybe 0.2 of an inch or something like that. And I was like, whatever. Not that big of a deal. We did all of our wet ball and all that stuff. And
what that means, again, for those who don't speak football, you literally wet your own footballs to practice, especially quarterbacks and receivers. You practice as if you're playing with a rainy football.
So we do all those things, and then we do a weather report every single day. So it looked like it was getting better throughout the week for a Friday night game. So we get to the Friday night, and like I said, my wife's like, it's supposed to thunderstorm when I'm, no, it's going to be good. And we get to the school, and we do our Friday night meetings, and
Friday
morning meetings for Friday night football, and we were talking about the weather, and at that time I think it was like maybe 60% chance of rain, but still you go back to how much rain are we going to get, and at that time maybe like once again 2 or 3/10 of an inch or something like that. So you're like, not that big of a deal. If it does rain, we already have all these precautions and blah 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 blah. So we go in, and we have these microfiber towels and all these other great gadgets to help the quarterback's hands stay dry, the center's hands stay dry, and things like that. So you're just making sure that you're checking, then you're double checking, and all these things, and then you have a rotation of towels with, okay, this is the first quarter quarterback towel, this is the first quarter center towel, this is the second quarter quarterback towel.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you ever wonder, are coaches really this detailed?
Yes.
And there's other words I might choose to use, but I'm going to go with detailed about these things.
Yes.
OCD is a word that comes to mind.
Yes.
They really are.
And then you have your first half bag with your towels in it with the game balls, and your second half bag. So I mean, it is literally like you are, you're preparing for potentially like the only way I can describe it is a 2-week stay, compared to a normal Friday night football game. So, but we always, like our Friday AM meetings, we're always going to talk about the weather. Even like this week, we're going to talk about the weather, but the percent of rain is very nil. But we'll still talk about it just because of the fact of it kind of hit us. So walking through that day, it was around 60%. Still not that big of a deal when it comes to how much rain we were going to actually get. Around 2, Coach Stinton hit me up and was like, "Hey, man, I think it's going to get nasty tonight." So I immediately called Frisco and said, "Hey, I just want to talk about these procedures with you and kind of your thoughts moving forward." So he was, I'm not staying forever, which I totally get. Like, he's got district starting, I got district starting, things like that. We both
because that's an important part we're going to emphasize a lot here is everything has to be negotiated and agreed upon with the two schools.
Right.
Just because you're the home team doesn't
Correct.
mean you get to make the call.
Right. And district play is so much different. District play, you have to play it. A non-district game, it doesn't matter. Like, there is no mutual agreement. One coach can say, "I'm doing this." The other coach can say something totally different.
So if
it doesn't
one
matter.
says no, either home or away, it's off.
Correct.
Okay, keep going. You called him.
So called him, and we had some discussions about it. Well, we've taken every precaution in the regard of we're getting rain, and we're going to play in the rain. So, we've got our 4-minute in, we've got our wet weather plan in, we've got all these things, yada, yada, going on. So then around 2 or 3 o'clock, the news is, so I have a meteorologist guy, and he filmed the meteorologist discussing it on the news and sent it to all of us and was like, "Hey, it's going to go north. We might get in one lightning delay, but we're going to get no rain," based off of this one meteorologist. Awesome. Well, Coach Stinton then hits me up.
I think this is where I need to remind you of the old joke.
What's that?
Boys who lie to their mothers grow up to be weathermen.
So, yeah, yes. So, so then Coach Stinton comes out and says, "Matt, this is going to go north. We might get a lightning delay, but this thing is going to go north. We're going to get to play football." Dang right, that's awesome. The person that was the only person from the beginning of the day all the way through until we called it that was correct was our trainer, Ann Morton. She was like, "From all my experiences, you will not play tonight." And I was like, "Ann, get out of here, Ann." And the whole time, she was like, "You're not playing, you're not playing, you're not playing."
Maybe that's who I should be interviewing
I'm telling you. And then we get to the point where, he was like, after 9 o'clock, "I'm not waiting anymore." Ann Morton, or Coach Morton, told me, she was like, you might get an hour in from 9 to 10, but after that, you're getting 0 football in because another one's coming. And everybody around us in that situation. So, like, if you played on Thursday, which Walnut Grove played on Thursday, who else in our district? Frisco Memorial played on Thursday. They're the only ones that played. Everybody else played a quarter or might have got a half in, and that was it. They didn't play anything else.
Lovejoy, midway through the second quarter, was losing to Highland Park 21-0. Mm-hmm. The officials called the game midway through second quarter, and it's counted as an official game.
Correct.
Official loss for Lovejoy and win for Highland Park, even though they played 1.5 quarters.
Right. And, once again, that goes back to it being a non-district contest, because a district contest is way different. Like, you have to come back, and I don't know if you remember, but we had a game called, it's the year that we won the district championship, right before the Lovejoy game. What was it, 2 years ago? We were playing Princeton on a Friday night.
Yes.
That weather came in. We had to turn around and play Saturday, and then we had to turn around and play Lovejoy on Thursday.
Yes.
So that was a crazy, wild week. But you have to go back, and let's just say there's 2 minutes and 59 seconds left on the clock in the first quarter. It's 2 minutes and 59 seconds left.
Right, you reset everything.
Yes,
down, distance, everything.
Everything.
All right, so go back. It's 3 p.m. Friday.
Mm-hmm. So, everything looks like we're going to get to play. So you're stoked, but still you have all these precautionary things that are in place. We have a team meeting at 4:25. Same thing, talking to the boys about no excuses. It's going to rain. You have to have your mind correct because there's probably going to be a lightning delay, this, that, and another. And well, I mean, you were there. Like, we come out, it's hot. It's like a regular September day, and then you go in and it's senior night, which is a great night to celebrate what our seniors have done. But what a great night! The community just comes together, and it was just a great evening. And then it hits, and
Right about 7 p.m.,
mhm.
the teams had finished the warm-ups. The senior night activities had just started. There was
Correct.
going to be like 100 seniors announced, and they were at
Right.
about 3 or 4
Right.
had been announced. And the first lightning strike occurs. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're giving you all the details because people ask me and us all of these questions. So there's a little alarm system right over there
Yeah.
on the roof.
Yes, sir.
So I'm asking you all these questions because these are what people ask. What's the procedure? You have an app on your phone, but we also have an alarm on the top of the championship center. So at 7:04, I believe the time was the first strike, and it has to be within a 10-mile radius.
Correct.
Now what?
So once that happens, every coach in our athletic department has an app on their phone called Periweather, and the Periweather app is connected to the signal system that we have, the weather system that we have that is connected to the school. So that Periweather app actually triggers the signal that we have on the school. So anything that's within the app goes from 20 to 30, 20 to 10, and then 0 to 10.
Miles away.
Miles away, yes, sir. So in anything that's 0 to 10, it activates the alarm, in which is a 30-minute delay. And every single time, so like you could be in a 30-minute delay, and it could be at 25 minutes, and then the lightning strikes, it's going back to 30. So that's what was happening on Friday night. We just kept, restarting the 30-minute delay. And, Ann Morton, kudos to her. She was like, "You're going to be able to start at 9:30." And but she was right. We could have started at 9:30, but it was actually like 10:15. It clicked on again. So, but like Anna had to play because of. From Arizona, they had to play at 7 o'clock.
That was a question some folks asked. Why did Anna play and Melissa didn't? They had a team fly in from Arizona on
Correct.
Friday. They were flying out on Saturday and going to all that time and money and expense and effort to get here. The team wanted to play.
Right.
So Anna and a team from Arizona played at 7 a.m.
Correct.
Saturday morning.
Correct.
So the team could make an afternoon flight.
And once again, both schools have to agree with on that. Once it's a non-district game. If it's a district game, it doesn't matter. You have to. But a non-district game, all it does is take one coach to say, "I'm not playing," and you're not playing.
So it was about 2 hours from the first strike till the cancellation.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the locker room. Are you communicating with the Frisco coach? Are you
Correct.
texting and calling?
Yeah, so the way that it works is you're in constant communication with the opposing coach, but you're also in constant communication with your athletic director, and then obviously Duke is our athletics facility guy. So
what about the officials, the referees?
the referees, no, it's just when we say
don't
we're
have a vote?
officially, no,
Okay.
they don't have a vote. They do exactly what the two schools want them to do. So the original plan was with Frisco that if we had to call the game, that we would move everybody to the indoor and that we would probably like scrimmage for a half.
When was that discussed?
We discussed that at 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon, and then we discussed it again when they got here. But once again, it all looked like we might be in a 30-minute delay and then get to play again. And then once we were in the delay, discussing with the Frisco coach did not want to do it at that time. And once again, I totally understand. They're starting district play just like we are, but he has to, his words, not mine. We kind of beat him up last year, and he was like, I need to make sure that all my kids are healthy going into district play.
So that is the literally inside scoop about what happened this past Friday. Lots of questions have been asked on our email address and on our Melissa Cardinals Network Facebook page. So we wanted to give you really the lay of the land, how it went down. A couple of notes before we take a break. Melissa ISD has issued ticket refunds.
Correct.
For people who bought a ticket for this game. Now, there's a processing fee by the website that runs it. That's not going to be refunded. But the money that Melissa ISD receives, that will be refunded to those who purchase tickets. It'll take a few days, but you will get your money back on that. The game will not be replayed.
No, sir.
So that was supposed to be game number 2 out of 10 for the regular season. It will not be replayed, so you'll play, please God, 9. Hopefully we don't do this again. 9 regular season games.
Right.
This game will not be made up. We're going to talk about the next game after our break. And final topic on this, everything is safety related. There's no debate about this. There's no discretion. It's a UIL rule, but it's a school rule. It's a safety rule. If there's lightning in the area, everybody has to disperse. And unfortunately, we've been through this. Again, 18 years calling these games. We had it at Toyota Field a few years ago.
That's right. Yep.
Where we'll be this Friday.
Right.
We had it at Toyota Field, and delay. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, we had stayed on the air for several hours with some high-quality sports discussion with Coach Kenny Deal and me, bringing out all kinds of stuff from the archives, and it was declared that the game was off.
Right.
So we went off the air, we packed up our stuff, we walked out of the stadium to Kenny's truck, and my daughter, one of my daughters, was still in the stadium, and she called me and said, the teams are coming back out on the field, so we hoofed it back up to the booth and reset up, and that's when we played a late game, ended at midnight about then, and Leslie Reddick Farrell is one of our most faithful viewers, moved away, used to be a part of our church family, and that's when she coined the now infamous phrase, red, time for bed, when we're playing at midnight at Toyota Stadium.
That game was a fun game just because of the fact of I was the offensive coordinator at the time, and Coach Stinton had said, all right, we're not playing. So we had waited up there. I was in the press box. We had waited. Hey, we're not playing. Came back to, and it went back and forth. Hey, we're not playing. Back down. Oh, we are playing back up. Oh, we're not playing. And then officially it was we are not.
Yeah, that's when we went off the air
to play. And so I came down, and it's a good it's an elevator ride, and it's a good walk to the locker room. And I remember putting all my stuff away, and I had just changed my clothes, and we got a text, game on, and I had to call Seth because I thought it was a joke. Hey man, what are we doing? And he said, man, we're going to play. And we had reduced halftime. I can't remember how long it was. We reduced it so much that I didn't even leave the press box.
Oh, it was less than 5 minutes.
Yeah, I just remember I was stayed in the press box the entire time. And it was a fun game to be a part of. But once again, it goes back to safety precautions, especially when it's not a district game. The playing surface is such a big deal. Are you playing on grass? Are you playing on turf? And whatnot. And then obviously the rain. You go back to the George Carlin stand-up show when he's talking about the difference between football and baseball. And he's right. It doesn't matter we're going to play. And except for lightning. But lightning is going to be something like I remember when I first got into coaching. I was coaching at a small school in East Texas called Cayuga, Texas. And there's a neighboring town called Grapeland. And they had a kid struck by lightning and killed. So that was the first time I really realized, like, okay, this is a big deal. Because, I was naive. I'm 22, 23 years old. I'm naive, thinking we played and all this stuff. And, I remember being in high school and it being pouring down rain. And I felt like there was lightning everywhere. I'm probably wrong, but and it's just slop, and you're like, it's not that big of a deal. And then something like that happens. You're like, yeah, it's a big deal, So you got to take care of not just the kiddos, but yourself as well.
In 2011, the year Melissa won football state championship, you're supposed to play 16 games to win a state championship. Back then, it was when 2A had just divided into big school and small school. So Melissa got a first-round bye in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So that means they were only going to play 15 games. Melissa had a non-district game at Salina, the old Salina Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a multiple lightning delay like this, in which everybody went to their cars. Now, we were only on the radio back then, but everyone was in their cars listening to us, because Kenny and I sat, probably with a couple of my kids, in this little metal shed that they had, remember, on the visitor side?
Oh, yeah.
So where should you be sitting in the middle of a lightning delay is a metal shed in Salina, Texas, on the visitor side, and we're covering everything with garbage bags because it's raining, and that game got called.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a big discussion between Melissa and Salina where we're going to come back and play on Saturday. And history books will tell you that Salina said, no, we're not going to come back and play. And so that game got canceled. So Melissa actually only played 14 games the year the Cardinals won state.
Right. It's wild to think we went to Salina. Same situation. They had turf, though. We were in a multiple lightning delay. Now we ended up playing it. It was a district ball game. We won. It was the same situation. I just remember they have a creek. This is old Salina Stadium. They have a creek that runs right behind it.
Where the balls fly into?
Yeah,
yes.
So we would kick it. And the first time, our ball boy didn't realize, hey, it's going to take it downstream. So we had to send both ball boys down there, and one ball boy would be there to try to catch it, and the other ball boy would be downstream as it hit. He'd have to go and get it. So, but yeah, that was there's great memories. Coaching for a long time now, you have great memories about weather delays and things like that. This is the first time I've had a cancellation. I've always either played it the next day or we just waited it out. So it's kind of like, you talk about that Frisco game that we played at Toyota, like we just waited and waited and waited. But the thing about it too is you have to get your mind correct as a kid, and we have to realize they are kids. And we have to realize that.
I'm glad you brought that up. I should have asked that earlier. What are the players doing for 2 hours waiting?
So it's an odd thing. Like, it's different when you're in Melissa and then if you're away. In Melissa, it's so simple. In Melissa, what we did on Friday night was we allowed the kids. We put coaches inside the locker room, and then we put coaches inside the indoor. And we allowed the kids, hey, you can be in the indoor and stretch out, or in the locker room and stretch out. And that's essentially what you do in that. And then until you get okay, here we go.
But you're not. Start we're all locked in. We're ready to go.
No,
they're kids.
They're kids, and that's the thing about it. Like, as a coach, you're constantly ready to go, and as a kid, we have to realize that they're kids. And now I try to follow the NFL rule in the regards of 90 minutes before kickoff, you take their cell phones away. So they didn't have any cell phones, which was mind-boggling that they survived. But they didn't have any cell phone at that time, and they were. Our quarterbacks got with our centers and they were doing wet ball drill. Our quarterbacks got with our centers and the running backs and did some wet ball stuff. The same thing with the receivers. And the cool thing about it is when you see the kids do it. It's not a coach-led thing. The kids are doing it. I saw, our defensive guys got together and they were doing some like form rec and some stuff like that.
Did you have food for them?
We always have food for them. Yeah, there's always like snacks and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you got to realize they're kids. And I kept telling our guys we have to be in there because a kid is a kid. And but yeah. I mean, it was when you're away, it's more difficult.
Right.
Because you're
so
in a
your
confined
Frisco
space.
friends right down here had a harder time than you did.
Yes, you're in a confined space. You're on the road. You're trying to figure out what to do. Everyone's in that room together.
It's getting hot in there.
Yes, and that's something else too. Like in the locker, that's why we spread them out. Is in the locker room, it gets so hot and it's so muggy. When everyone's in there sweating and things like that. And Friday was a little bit chaotic because we moved senior night into the indoor, and then we had youth night, and everybody is in the indoor and in the championship center. So it was definitely a lesson. But Friday nights, especially when you have weather delays, you have to be more. Every coach does the same thing. Every coach lists out exactly, and people think it's nuts, but it's the only way that you can pull it off. You list by the minute what every single person is doing, and it takes a while.
Remember that OCD thing I talked about?
Yeah, and it takes a while for you because you are, Brother Graham, at 6:30, this is where you're at. Well, 6:32, you're doing this. Well, at 6:35, you're doing this. 6:37, and you're going through every single coach, every single kid. This is what's going on. It's almost like...
And people think that's crazy, but remember, these are teenagers, and structure helps, discipline helps, boundaries. I mean, it's a parenting lesson in some respects.
And you're having to schedule out essentially somebody's life from the time they get to the championship center until the game is over. And I say that from the time they get to the championship center until 45 minutes after the game is over. You're trying to schedule everybody's life out to that point. So, but, at the end of the day, obviously a lightning delay throws a little crick in that, and you're totally off schedule. And that's where it becomes kind of a nightmare. But you have to go in, and everyone has the same thing. Everyone has, I call it the emergency plan. So our emergency weather plan is blah. So, I mean, that's already there. You don't have to really script that. That's already in the packet that you send out during the week, your emergency weather plan. And, it's already there. But it's good to see it go into effect.
It is kind of a drill for you.
Yeah, it was good to see it going into effect. And, the thing is early on in my career, I played a game in Crockett, Texas, a playoff game in Crockett, Texas, and the meteorologist said, "You're not going to get any rain." And it's the first time I was the offensive coordinator at that time, and I was like, I went to the head coach and said, "Man, I think we need like a wet weather plan or something." He's like, "It'll be fine, no big deal." And we went into that game without a wet weather plan, and it became a tsunami. And from that point on, I was like, I have PTSD. We're gonna make sure that we have a weather emergency plan, and we're gonna have a emergency plan when it comes to special teams, and we're gonna have an emergency plan when it comes to offense. Now, every defensive coordinator in America is like, please rain, and rain a lot. And then every offensive guy and special teams guy is like, this is a nightmare. This is the worst thing that could potentially happen on a Friday night. Is it not rain, but like the pour down rain, And we're so blessed to be up here where everyone has turf, so the field conditions aren't an issue. But you remember just as well as I do, field conditions, and it made it kind of fun when you played in it. But field conditions
Sometimes
can make it so awful. Like we went to North Lamar maybe 6 or 7 years ago, and it was a last district game before we went into the playoffs, and it had rained, and the field conditions were so bad. We had a kid lose his cleat in the sod, and we got it back 2 weeks later. They mailed it back to us, but But it was. But once again, that's you kind of think of football. That's what you kind of think of, and but everything went to plan Friday night. And like I said, we're super supported with our administration, and Seth Stinton, our athletic director, was all over it from the get-go. So, but once again, Seth's not making the decision. He's making it. He's allowing coaches to make that decision. He is just highly involved in the negotiations of it. So,
And thus ends the meteorological segment of the Cardinal Scoreboard Show. Ladies and gentlemen, we promise you information here that you will get nowhere else, and that's what you just got. You're watching the Cardinal Scoreboard Show. That's Matt and Allie. I'm Trey Graham. We'll take a break. We'll come back and talk about a real game coming up right after this. Welcome back to the Cardinal Scoreboard Show. You heard all about the lightning delays and the game cancellation in the Frisco High School contest from this past Friday. So now let's actually talk about some football. One question is, Frisco Memorial got a game in. Mm-hmm. They are 1-1 on the year. You're 0-1 on the year, so they have a game on you.
correct.
Does that help them, hurt them? They're more experienced. They've got more playing time. Is it a non-issue? What's the story?
I think it always helps, that you get to play. I think that's always a big deal. The one thing that's what we're discussing during the lightning delay is how do we get our kids, because it's still so early in the year. All you can think about is game conditioning, and you don't want kids to be out of shape. And you don't want kids to deal with cramps and things like that. So how do we get them in game condition going into a game? Or going into district play. So what we did, and it was probably I was a little bit nervous about it at the beginning, but what we did is we went and lifted weights after the game. So, or when we
after the non-game.
Yeah, the non-game.
Yeah.
So about 9:30, whatever it was, we went and lifted weights. And our weight...
that was an on-the-spot decision?
Yeah,
or was that part of your emergency plan?
So our emergency plan did not call for that. Our emergency plan called for meetings, film, and then holla at your boys. So, that was our emergency plans. That came about. I was very much, I had a meeting with my staff, and, I was sitting there like, guys, I just feel like our kids are at a point where they're not a bowling point, but that's the only way I know how to put it. They wanted to play. And I was like, man, they've got so much energy, and we've got to do something to expel that energy. So at that time, it was still, we're going to watch film and things like that.
Film of what?
Memorial.
You could start ahead.
Mm-hmm. And we were going to do that, and we were going to kind of talk about preliminary game plans and things like that before we got into the weekend. And I was, at that time, it is just pouring down rain. So I'm really nervous about if they call it, or if we call it. I didn't want to put the kids right back in the rain. I was nervous about them driving and things like that. So Coach Spann said, man, let's lift. And I was like, these kids aren't going to want to lift, And then so I kind of shut that down a little bit. And then we got to talking again. And Coach Pickup said, I like the idea, we should lift. And I said, okay, we'll draw it out. He's our strength and conditioning guy. So he drew it out, what he was thinking about doing. And I was like, man, that's a great idea. Good idea, Coach Spann. Good idea, Coach Pickup. This sounds bad, but like essentially when you guys fall on your face, it'll be on you guys. And
that's leadership.
And it was the best idea. It was the greatest idea. Those kids went in there and worked their tails off. It was an unbelievable workout. The kids were so fired up. I was nervous about them having so much pinned up energy. It allowed them to have an outlet. Like you get to a point where you just want to play, and then you don't get to play. I think there's something that stays with, and you don't get to rest and things like that. So I was like, we've got to figure something out. And those guys figured it out, and it was awesome. It was a great deal. And after we lifted, we had a quick team meeting. And then we set them on their way. But, it was about a 45-minute hour lift. And it was something that, like I said, I think that Coach Spann.
Will you include that in your planning?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. On the road, and another reason why we didn't watch film was because the internet was out. So that was the one thing that came up.
Our viewers probably figured that out.
That's one thing that came up. They were like, we can't watch film because the internet's out. So, once again, like on the road, you're
just going to get up and come home.
Well, on the road, you could potentially do some things. Like you could probably, on our plan, it's still to watch film. You're going to watch a little bit of film, eat, and while you're watching
in the visiting locker room.
Yes, you're going to eat. You're going to watch a little bit of film while you're eating. Get on the bus, come back home. And then you're going to watch a little bit more film before we cut you loose. That's what's in the packet. But with that being said, when you're home, man, there's so much other possibilities that you can do. But going back to your question, I always think it's better that you had an opportunity to play. You can't, reps are so valuable, and getting those reps are so valuable. The only thing that I can say that really helped us not getting to play that game is we had some kids, like we had COVID that just ran through our locker room for about 3 weeks in a row. So allowing the kids to take a break from being in the locker room, allowing us to sanitize that and clean that up has probably been, that's the only positive. Everything else, in my personal opinion, was a negative besides the weight workout. The weight workout was amazing, and us allowing the kids kind of get to heal up because, I didn't even know COVID was still a thing, Brother Graham. I had no idea. And we had a kid that had COVID the day of the Argyle scrimmage. He was a starter, and then it just ran through our locker room. We were missing kids in the Bosco week and the Bosco game, and then we were going to miss a couple kids in the Frisco game and because of COVID. And but it sounds like it's kind of went away, thank goodness. Maybe it hit us at the right time. But that's really the only positive. But once again, you can't, it's the same thing with practice. If you miss practice reps, like you're going to be behind. So I think that reps is always the most important thing you can do.
Last season, Melissa dominated the Warriors, Frisco Memorial, 66-6.
Oh, wow.
Was the score. I know how you think in this. Last year doesn't matter. Don't take them lightly. Respect everybody. But I'm not the only one who knows what the score was last year.
Right.
How do you get the team ready when you are the decided favorite?
I think it's the same as, you go into, like last week, I don't remember the score from Frisco, us from a year ago.
52-13.
52-13, but you have to have discussions. Like, it's not like, I've discussed on this before, it's not like you don't know the opponent's score until Thursday when you go to the barbershop and you read it, and you play them the next day. So kids know instantly what's going on, and not just that, like you said perfectly, they know that the score was 66-6. And that's what I try to tell these coaches all the time. Clinics I speak at, like, kids are so resilient, A, but B, they're way more intelligent than we could ever fathom being, in the regard of, like, you could come in and say, okay, well, when Six's right foot is up, he's going to run a post. When his left foot is up, he's going to run an out. All right, man, I got a nugget for these kids. And you go in, the kid's like, hey, coach, when his right foot's up, he's doing this. When his left foot's up, doing that. And you're like, you stole my thunder. You know what I mean? So they're so intelligent. They've already watched so much film. They've already read the Dallas Morning News. They know the score. And then, obviously, it goes back to, like you said, we have players on our team that were on that team last year, and they know what it was like last year. The thing is in sports, it could be in life too, but in sports, it doesn't matter. Like, you can, line up on a Tuesday and beat a team, and in baseball 10-0, and then Friday night you could lose the game 1-0.
The any given Sunday.
Yeah, you just never know how the ball's going to bounce. So, but once again, we talk to the kids about controllables and what can you control. The only thing that you can control is your preparation, your attitude, and your effort. That's it. That's all you can do, and we call that respecting the process. That's all that you can do going into it. So, it's hard to win a game. It's really hard to win a game. It's easy to lose a game, but it's hard to win a game. So, just that mindset, and Brother Graham, we have a really good football team. But once again, we've said it multiple times on this show, they are kids, and kids are going to do kid things and whatnot, and we just got to love them and keep supporting them and move forward that way. But that's really the only magic pill that you can do is keep them humble.
This Friday, Melissa Cardinals at the Frisco Memorial Warriors. Toyota Stadium in Frisco. That's the big soccer stadium. 7 p.m. kickoff, ladies and gentlemen. It's earlier than normal. That's a Frisco ISD thing. So 6:30 p.m. we'll start on the Melissa Cardinals Network with a pregame show. 6:30 p.m. 7 p.m. kickoff on the Melissa Cardinals Network. And hope you'll be by the channel, of course, or in the stadium, or the best thing is to do both. Be in the stadium and listen to the Melissa Cardinals Network. Why not? Last question for you. You mentioned this to me on the field before the game that wasn't played. It was senior night, and so one of your goals was to get a lot of playing time for a lot of seniors as a thank you and a reward. I know that's a disappointment not to get that in.
Yeah, we have 40 seniors, and what's wild, because 11 years ago, we might have had 40 kids on the varsity football team. So we have 40 seniors, and all 40 of those kids are great, great young men, and they're going to grow up to be great men and leaders of their community and be great husbands and fathers. And, you just want to celebrate them, and you want to have an opportunity to give them their due diligence and pat on the back. So that was something that stung, because kind of asking or answering the question you said earlier about, how do we seriously combat missing a game? And like I said, it's only about reps. So we're going to have to, if we have the opportunity that we've had in the past in the next few ball games of we might be up at a certain point or whatever, and we pull starters. We might not have that luxury just because of the fact that we did miss a game, and we're going to have to get in kids, or we're going to have to give kids reps. But yeah, missing that piece on Friday night was a huge blow, just because of the fact every kid on our football team is valued, and they're very much so loved. So, we have a different football team this year. There's not a lot of that entitlement. There's not a lot of that selfishness that comes with playing team sports, where it's, where's my touches, or, where's my time. Everybody understands their role and feels valued within that role. So, that is a blessing, but at the end of the day, as somebody that loves and cares about them, you want them to have their opportunity as well, their day in the sun.
We appreciate you being with us for this week's edition of the Cardinal Scoreboard Show. We've proven that we could talk for almost an hour about a game that wasn't played.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We appreciate you joining us every week on the Melissa Cardinals Network. Make sure you follow the Melissa Cardinals Network on Facebook. Make sure you subscribe to Melissa ISD on YouTube so you can watch us talk about a game that wasn't played. Remember, 6:30 pregame shows, 7 o'clock kickoff this Friday at Toyota Stadium in Frisco. Your Cardinals will be back in action. And hope you'll join us on Sunday morning at First Melissa. Worship services every Sunday. Great church home, 9 a.m. or 10:15 a.m. FirstMelissa.com is the website. find out all kinds of information. Hope to see you on Friday. Hope to see you on Sunday. Coach Nally, thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. You've been watching the Melissa Cardinals Network and the Cardinals Scoreboard Show. We'll see you on Friday night.